Hi, this is MJ Scott. About a year ago, I purchased a set of HPP sim racing pedals, and I fell in love. I was very happy. But HPP recently released an upgraded set of pedals, so I purchased those too. Now I'm trying to figure out if it's worth it to make the upgrade. I've got a few questions, so I called the company, got the owner on the phone, we had a conversation, and this is how that went. I hope you enjoy the video. Making a phone call now to Mark Hargett.
Hello.
Mark,
Yes, sir.
this is MJ. How are you?
Good. How's it going?
Awesome. I apologize. It took so much to get to this point.
No worries.
Cramming all of these cameras into my man, I call this a man closet, was quite a challenge. Hey, before we get started, are you okay with me recording this?
Sure, I don't care.
Okay, great. Just wanted to put that on camera. And but you know, actually, before we even get into the real Q&A for all of this, can you help level set with me? Because I'm very new to sim racing, and can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm gonna put that down. And so I've only been in this about 16 months. And I went from Logitech to, I mean, no force feedback, rubber band force feedback to, what do you call it, Logitech and Thrustmaster, and then finally, quickly got to the pinnacle, obviously, which are the HPP. But I don't know who is HPP, and help me pronounce your last name. Hargett. I'm sorry, I didn't want to chew it up. So who?
Yeah, it's like Target, but with an H.
Okay, got it. Hargett. So, I mean, can you give me some background on you and your company? I was just curious.
Well, Hargett Precision Products, or HPP, I've been around for a little over 10 years now. I started out, I've always designed and manufactured my own products. I started out, I did a lot of Porsche and race car components. I bought a 911 project car many years ago, and started out as just kind of, I had never had a Porsche before, and so I thought it'd be kind of cool. And as I went down the journey, it became a huge project where I did a lot of fabrication and designing and stuff, and and so I produced and manufactured some parts for it, and then people wanted the parts for their cars, and that's kind of how the company started. I've always been around cars my whole life. My family, my dad, when I was really young, he had junkyards, towing businesses, companies that were very car-centric. So I've just always been around them my whole life. I raced. I was into racing very heavily when I was young. I was 1987 Grand National Champion in karting here in the States.
Wow.
And went over to France and did a couple things over there. And then realized I was not rich enough to go any further. And but so cars and racing and mechanical stuff has just always been in my blood.
Gotcha. So the company itself is how old?
A little over 10 years.
And then, so you were really car parts. So are you still car parts / sim
Well,
racing, or is it all sim racing now?
it's probably 90% sim at this point. When I started doing the sim pedals, what's it been, 6 years ago now?
Okay, that was my next question. Go ahead.
It quickly consumed and took over the priorities for my business. Because I've been on backlog ever since I started, basically. And with that comes a lot of, stress and everything, but it's kind of pushed out my other stuff, which I had been doing for many, many years anyways, and you do something for many years, you don't have the passion and the excitement for it. So, all things considered, the sim product stuff has, really taken over the business for the most part, and it's probably 90% of HPP.
Gotcha. So give me like, because I was introduced to the PRX, and this will be my third set of HPP pedals. So my first set was the PRX SE, and I bought them. If I were to ever stop watching reviews and reading about this stuff, I would have left finished up with Thrustmasters. But I kept reading and kept hearing, oh, there's this and there's that, and I want to try that next. And I was looking for what would you call it? The point of diminishing return. And I don't feel like I've gotten there yet, because coming from, I think I went from V3 inverted fanatic V3Is to the SEs, the PRX SEs, and it was worth every dime. So I'm always trying to figure out if it's worth, whatever that price differential is. And that was my first set. But what happened, I tracked my car in real life, and I was forced with some budgetary constraints. And before you even delivered the SEs, I think I had them sold, because I had to put my money elsewhere. A guy came to my house to buy the pedals, and he made me an offer for my whole rig, or for most of it, after he tested it out. And I said, ooh, that would really get me where I need to be with my track car. Sold. And then what happened? Your pedals finally show up. I have them sold. And I asked the guy I was selling them to, I said, can I just try them out? Because I had been waiting for them for so long. Or what seems to be like a long time now. Now I realize, you just have to wait with sim racing. Long story short, it was using those pedals for, I guess I had them for a few hours before I stuck them in the box and mailed them out. And I was back. I said, no, I got to have these. So I shipped those off because I had committed to it. And then I bought the PRX without the SE. Because because then I bought a new rig, and I didn't need the plate, because the big deal with the SE and the polishing, which didn't do anything for me other than they were the most gorgeous pedals I had ever seen, but it doesn't add performance. So I said I don't need that, and I bought everything else that made it consistent with the SE. I said all that to say this: the PRX SEs brought me all the way back into sim racing from zero. Had to build everything back up because I had to have that. It was so immersive. It just took over. So when you came out with the JBVs, I just wanted to try them candidly. In my mind, I said there's no way to perfect on perfection. So I just wanted to try them because I think mine are less than 6 months old. But before we go to the JBVs, I did want to ask you, how did you, so all I know of is the PRX. and now the JBV. What is this, your fourth iteration? What iteration of pedals are you on right now?
There have been really technically four, I think you would say. The first ones had no designation. It was when I first started, and it was more or less, because I have the the capabilities of the design and the manufacturing with the CNC machines at the time, I was just making them for my own use. And that quickly turned into the production of them. But the very first ones way back when, I didn't call them anything. They were just my pedals. But then after that, there were the PHTs. That's the first generation, PHTs. And then the PRXs, and now the JBVs. So the JBVs are technically the fourth.
No, actually, yes, I do remember Barry talking about the PHTs. Okay, yeah. So the PRXs, JBVs, PRXs, what'd you call the other ones?
PHTs.
But then your very first ones, they didn't have a name?
They didn't have a name, yeah.
Did you sell them?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so those. Okay, gotcha. All right. So then, now my next question is: obviously, you're a sim racer.
Well, yeah, I wasn't at how the whole thing came about was similar to the Porsche stuff that I was speaking about that grew out of a hobby. The sim racing stuff did as well. I originally, back then, believe it or not, it came about because this was back when we actually had Blockbusters. You remember them?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I was in a Blockbuster, and they had a PlayStation on sale, and it had a Blu-ray player, or it was a Blu-ray player as well, which was the latest rage at that point with DVDs.
That was my first Blu-ray as well.
So I bought it. I bought the PlayStation because I wanted a Blu-ray player.
Same here.
That's what I used it as.
Right.
And a friend of mine came over one time, and he's like, "Hey, you got a PS? You got a PlayStation?" I'm like, "Yeah." He was like, "Well, we got to use that. We got to play. They got some cool stuff." So we started playing Gran Turismo and that kind of stuff, and I got a Thrustmaster T500, and it was fun. I had a blast being into racing all my life and stuff. I mean, it was really cool, and so it just started out like that as a hobby,
and then grew. So then you just built your own. And people wanted to buy them?
Once I got into it, of course, I naturally migrated to iRacing, PC-based, because that was more authentic, more higher end. And in the forums and stuff, I would see these different higher end components that people would use. And sim racing is like any kind of racing, in that equipment is part of the sport. So no one wants to have inferior equipment. Right. You always want to have the best equipment possible. So that led me to, I played around with some of the, at the time, some of the little add-ons that you could do for the pedals and stuff like that, and I thought, I could do this. I could come up with something, and decided to build, my own set of pedals, and decided to go the hydraulic route versus the load cell.
Right.
And that's how it all started.
Gotcha. All right. Well, and I don't want to take up all your time, because I know you're a busy person. So let me cut to the chase. So I had every initial impression that there's no way to improve on perfection. These to me, I'm holding the PRX in my hand now. They were perfection. So I just, only because they're pretty new, I figured I'd try the JBVs, but everything I thought said there's no way he can improve these, and everything. And I am a little biased. I want desperately, and I'll be frank with you, to sell the JBVs and keep these, mainly because of cost as well. But I just don't want to leave anything on the table, like you were saying before. If there is a material improvement in performance, I would like to have it. Well, let me just back up real quick. The reason I budget for all of this, because I track my car in real life. What I put into my rig is what I don't put into track insurance. So I figure if I could drive better, I can save on track insurance, and just don't wreck your car and you'll be fine, right? So that's kind of how I justified my expenditures. But at any rate, I said, let me just try these, and I'm pretty sure I'd be able to, just like with the other ones, be able to sell them real quickly. So when I first got them, I have them on the rig now. It seems to me the whole theme behind the new set is to make them more compact, lighter, and quieter. That am I missing? And I think I got some of that out of your video too. But that seems to be the whole. Or am I totally off base?
No, I'd say those are some of the major kind of design attributes that I was shooting for. I wanted something as clean, as compact, and elegantly simple as possible. I wanted to improve on the kind of modularity and flexibility for mounting. And the lightness, some of that is aesthetics, but some of it's for the kinetic aspects of the transducers that people use a lot of times. I think the lighter mass is more conducive to the kinetic transducers, so I think that was just something I wanted to incorporate into it as well.
Okay. I mean, but I guess this is my real question of why. Because the main thing I would think, like, why would you need it to be lighter? Maybe because you have a lesser rig. Now, I've graduated to the P1X, so my rig I can put a car on this thing almost. But some other people's rigs may not be as robust. Was that part of it, or was it motion rigs? I'm like, why lighter? Because at first I thought heavier seemed more substantial, seemed to me better.
Well, hold on. Don't confuse light with less strength. They're absolutely as strong. They are designed. There's no diminish in strength or structural integrity in any aspect of them.
Oh, I agree. Well, just to be clear, I'm giving you, that was my initial impression. Your other ones came pre-assembled, all together, one thing in a box, and these were like in individual boxes. So right. It was almost that was added to it. Like they were like these little bitty things. I'm like, what are these little bitty things? Like these pedals can't compare to the brutish, the monstrosity of a pedal. I mean, these things, I put them on a scale. I don't know how much they weigh, but I can curl with them now, and I'm a pretty decent guy, and they're pretty heavy. I probably couldn't get 30, 50 curls out of them. I don't know.
Right.
So as I take them out the box, I'm like, what is Mark doing? Maybe he is catering to the motion rig people. I'm like, I never in my mind did I think, oh, I need it lighter. I mean, but I'm a big guy, so I'm okay with living in a track. So I changed tires. So maybe some other people, and I started to think maybe the average age of a sim racer might be 50, 60 years old, and a heavy, big, clunky set of pedals might have. I assume my assumption was you did it as a response to people's commentary or what have you.
No, there really was no commentary per se, but look at it like this. There's no drawback to having what I produce lighter. There's no drawback. If everything is the same, if the performance is the same, the structural rigidity is the same, if that's all the same, there's no drawback to being lighter, but there are benefits.
Gotcha.
And so why not make it lighter?
Gotcha. Okay. I was just curious. And I agree. So obviously you're a engineering, mechanical, technical wizard. I almost think, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but the way you have the angles, etc., they almost, it seems impossible, because I read that it's made out of the same material, but they almost seem more sturdy.
Well, I couldn't really, I haven't done destructive testing to to test that. I would just say I'm extremely confident with the analysis that I've done that they are by no means less rigid, less structural than the PRXs. That's a fact.
And then so I call these things the piano bars or the music bars that went between the PRXs. So you don't have those anymore.
I don't have those anymore because if you think about it, I wanted originally to be able to just have the set as one unit, right? And have the adjustability of width between the pedals. So I had the bars. However, because it's a force type of brake system with the brake, you have to mount each pedal unit. You have to secure each pedal unit.
Right.
Period. So the bars, in essence, are somewhat useless. Because you have to mount physically each pedal unit to your rig. The bars don't really do you a whole lot, other than carrying them from point A to point B, which doesn't happen that often. Once you mount them, they're mounted. So the bars don't really do you any good.
So they didn't really serve a purpose previously, other than for alignment or what have you.
Correct. And a lot of people use the 80-20 kind of based rigs nowadays.
Right.
They mount to that stuff so good, so efficiently, and you have the adjustability as well with that. There's really no need to have those rods anymore.
Gotcha. Yep, I agree. But then when they were gone, I was like, well, what am I losing? So it's good to understand that I'm not losing anything. So
you're not losing anything, yeah.
So let me to this question too. So I remember Barry Rowland saying the transducer was in the way, which to me it didn't bother me, but it is a cleaner look and a less of a chance to get knocked around. I didn't. So I'm being transparent with you. I didn't want to end up liking the JBVs. I really didn't.
What?
I wanted to not like them. Well, how do I say this? Well, and I think too, after I'm wondering why was I so negative? I wasn't negative per se, but so resistant to wanting to like them.
The JBVs?
Right. I don't know why I was like that, and I think what it was. So
you had an emotional connection with the PRX.
I would agree with you, and I think I like the color scheme, and I'm not a guy that's into aesthetics when it comes. I'm purely about performance, but I liked the aesthetics of the PRXs, and the black and silver look was that was just a hot look. And now Now you have the blue and the anodized. Does that anodizing, what does that do exactly? Or what do you call it? The nickel plating. I'm sorry.
Well, the blue, the teal, that color, that's anodizing. The other, like the pedal arms, that's nickel plating. So there's nickel plating on it and anodizing on it. The anodizing is a color. It's more or less like a dye that gets impregnated into the material, where the nickel plating is an actual surface plating on top of the material.
Okay. What from a is it less corrosive, or what performance enhancement, or is it just a good look?
It's all aesthetics.
I gotcha. Okay.
All aesthetics, except for some of the plating aspects that I do internally in the master cylinder and slave cylinder is for functionality.
Okay. All right. Let me ask you this. What I really liked, and you kind of went away from it, and it's not a bad thing per se. When I received the PRXs, they were in a brown box with some brown paper. So I felt and knew that every dime and every penny that I spent on these went into the pedals. Nothing was about the boxing or blah blah blah. Now you did up it a little bit. The packaging was improved. I'll say that. It's but you didn't lose your mind on it. I was expecting them to come fully assembled like the others did. Was that a big deal, or was that all about? What was that all about? Let me ask you.
Well, when you say fully assembled, all you're talking about is the pedal pad on the pedal arm.
I agree. I'm not. Yeah. So it's not even really. It took 2 seconds. It took 2 minutes maybe. It wasn't a big deal. Right.
I guess initially I would beleaguer and argue the point that they're not assembled. They are assembled.
They are assembled. I agree. Yeah, you just have to put the pedal on there.
Right.
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
The reason why the reason why they're shipped like that is because I wanted the most compact boxing that I could get, specifically for my international customers, because international shipping is no joke. It's very expensive, and almost half of my sales are international.
Really? Okay.
So the more I can do to have a smaller, lighter box to ship to my international customers, the better. And I think if you'd ask them if they mind putting 2 screws to attach a pedal pad and that, save them money, I think they'd be all for it.
Absolutely. I agree. I was just curious. Now, did all the work you did to make the tolerances tighter, did that help the durability, or was it simply for noise reduction, or what?
Noise reduction.
Okay. And so the deal with noise reduction, were there complaints? Because I never thought about the noise.
Well, because a lot of sim racers are picky. That's why.
I got you.
Very, very picky.
I got you.
They forget that they're trying to duplicate, resemble, a race car. And I'm telling you, have you ever driven in a race car?
It's
they make more noise than you could imagine.
Yeah.
There's more rattling and shaking and noises and squeaking.
Yeah.
It's the most obnoxious environment there is.
Right.
But you have one tiny little squeak
Right.
on a sim racing thing,
Right.
and they get all nutty. I mean, like crazy. And so it's a sore spot with me, because it's like, you have no idea how quality. You look at the pedals of a race car and you look at these things, and you don't understand the quality that you're getting. It's crazy. Don't complain about a tiny little squeak.
I got you. I was.
But a lot of them, in fairness too, is they race. Some people race at night, and their wife or girlfriend or kid or whatever is sleeping in the next room, and they don't want a lot of noise. So I get it too, and that's why I try to give them what they want. And so, noise, squeaking of any type, if you can minimize it, then do it.
In all transparency, the brake, my PRX brake squeaked so much so I was concerned. And I asked one of my other buddies, John, online, and I sent him a video, and he sent me a video, and both of them, it just made a little squeaking noise when it was max pressure. And he said, no, his has always made that little noise, no big deal. So I get it. Sim racers can be kind of picky. So let me ask you this: what I forgot I was going to ask you this earlier. What does the JBV or the PRX stand for?
Ain't gonna tell you.
Okay, I'm
not gonna tell you because you probably think it was stupid and laugh, and so I just keep them to myself. They're very stupid. They're very comical. If I told you, you'd either laugh or think I'm stupid. It's just nothing more than something that comes into my brain when I'm in that formulation stage, when I'm designing, trying out different things. Something will pop into my head, and whatever pops into my head is kind of the character of that series, and I have usually a 3. I take whatever that is that I'm thinking, and I translate it somehow into a 3 letter abbreviation.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to pause this conversation for now. Obviously, if you enjoyed the video, click the like button. If you want to see part 2, click the subscribe button. And I will give you a little bit of a plot spoiler for now. Mark does reveal what the letters PRX stand for in his PRX pedals. Thanks for watching, and we will see you at the next video.
I will tell you what the PRX stands for.
All right.
I won't tell you what the JBV stands for.
Okay, I'll take it.
So you can get a little flavor.
All right.
So the